Alrighty, let's go view a student. Okay, so the new thing that I want to try from like a giving you content, giving you teaching, giving you format is I want to show you all the steps and explain why you do them and then go through our PowerPoint. So you have like quick at the front, the tutorial, and then the more explanation part at the back with the why and with the etc. So your objective today is to create new pages. That's the first one. Next up is add them to the nav bar and continue work on assignment number 5. We're going to work on deploying next week so we can still play Minecraft tomorrow. But you'll notice in Canvas there is an assignment called May Notebook Checks. It is worth 0 points and it's just a URL. It's not technically due until May 31st because it's still, it's just deploying your notebook at the end of the unit or the month. So it won't be marked missing. We'll get to that on Monday when assignment number 5 is due. Okay, anyways, quick and normal startup like we usually do. We got to open VS Code, open our 5th period folder, get our server started, and then start writing our code, right? The basic warm-up type things, the basic entry-level type things that get our page running, okay? So I'm gonna go into VS Code, full screen. This is my 4th period folder, so if you have a different folder that you've been working in, you wanna open up the P5 May notebook by going open folder. Mine, I'm pretty sure, I always forget for your class, I think is in my 2025 folder. And then we go to semester 2, web design, and then there's P5 May Blakey, okay? So you can see it's gonna reopen my terminals from last time. Let's close this little pop-up here. You don't have to open a new terminal every single time. It will probably remember what you did, but in case it doesn't, let me show you how to get your terminal started. Like so. You can see the images that we wrote in Tuesday and Wednesday's video. So if you want to know how to do that, Tuesday and Wednesday have video recordings that you should watch after class. But we need to get our server started after we've opened up our notebook by going to the terminal, opening a terminal. If it says command prompt, if it says PowerShell, it's not going to work. So if you see this error, it's because you need to change your launch profile to command prompt. You do that by clicking on the little drop down, command prompt, and you type in the code npm run dev. Okay, I'm going faster because we've talked about this a couple times, and I just want to remind you the quick steps instead of all of the detailed steps. Control click on localhost. It's going to open up your site in your default browser. You're going to see my 3 Magneto images from earlier in this week's video, and nothing else across the nav bar. That's an important thing to remember. Our last step is we're going to split our screen. Remember, my monitor is the same size as yours, so you can resize your page to be however is comfortable for you. Or you can have your code on one side and the screen share on the other, so you can also, also see what's going on here. Okay, so first things first. In order to make a new page, we need to create a new folder inside of our notebook checks, right? Like when you put an assignment into a binder, you're adding it to the total so that when you submit the whole binder, it's all in there. It's a very simple process. You want to click on the app drawer. You see I'm in my Explorer right here, clicking on app. Right click on app until you see new folder, and we're going to create a new folder that relates to the page we're trying to make. In this case, the page we're trying to make is assignment number 5. So I'm going to go new folder, very simply, all lowercase, type out A5, okay? A5 is empty. There is nothing inside of A5. I can click on this little triangle to open and close the folder as much as I want. But if I do that for docs, blog, about, or pricing, they all have this page.tsx file inside of it, which means we need to add our own version of page.tsx inside of A5. So I've clicked on A5. I'm going to right click, new file, and we're going to call it all lowercase PAGE.TSX. And when I hit enter, you're going to notice it opens a new tab in my my VS Code. How am I going to tell which page.tsx I'm working on? Because they have a little tiny darker text that says where the folder they're coming from is. So if we look at our home page, which is just inside of our app drawer, it says page.tsx in the app container. You can also see the path directly underneath the tab. This is the app folder, then page.tsx, and then the home function because it's the home page. If we go to page.tsx, this says ... /A5, meaning it's contained in a folder called A5. If we open up the about page.tsx, you'll see it says ... /about, or ... /blog, or ... /docs. Whatever page we're working on will be in the ... after the fact, okay? This is a blank page. It's got no instructions. It's missing the most important part of our React application is an export function, okay? I haven't taught you how to write those yet because I want you to practice source coding. The easiest source code to grab for an export function is on the template's about page. So if you go to the about page, you're gonna see there's not very much code here. There's only 13 lines, okay? If we tried to copy the home page, and go back to the page.tsx inside of the home folder, that's 70 lines of code, okay? We would much rather have 14. So I'm gonna click inside of my app or my about export function right here, and source coding is copying, pasting, adjusting. You know this already works, so we wanna make it work for our specific job by going Control A, Control C, then going back to our page.tsx for A5 and Control V, okay? Because we copied and pasted, these two things are going to look exactly the same, all right? Which means we need to change up some of the features on our A5 page so we can tell the difference. First things first, you want to look at line number 3, take out the word about, because we're not working on the about page anymore. We're working on A5 page, like so. And we can also change the content of title on line number 6. It is the white text that says about. We can spell out something like A5 defend the fictional villain, which is kind of like adding an assignment to your, is that fictional? Yeah. Kind of like adding an assignment to your binder, all right? Lines 8 and 9 say exactly the same thing that they did on the about page, so we can change this to say something more like placeholder text for assignment 5, or just A5 for short. You can also add defend the fictional villain if you want on there. You just want to have some placeholders. We want to adjust what we know works into a new spot and only change what's necessary instead of writing everything from scratch. I'm going to save this, but I have no way to access this page yet. We've done the required steps. When you create a new page, you create a subfolder and a page.tsx inside of that subfolder. You add a simple export function, which I will add the simple export function in your Canvas resources after I finish. But we copied it from the about page and adjusted what we needed on line number 3, changing the function, and line number 6, changing the content to say A5 defend the fictional villain. And we've got a page set up, but this page isn't accessible, okay? Let's go back and look at your objectives for today. This is how you create a new page. The next thing I'm gonna show you is adding them to the nav bar. A big emphasis of what I've been teaching you so far this week is that components are made up of properties. Components are our Lego pieces or our advanced sandwiches, if that visual works a little bit better for you, and they have specific advanced ingredients. Pages behave in a very similar way, and there are other types of components inside of a React site, like the navigation bar, okay? This navigation bar across the top is not in alphabetical order. So if we look at our Explorer, it's not gonna match up if we close all of our subpage folders here. You'll see that this one goes home, docs, pricing, blog, about, but the actual code goes A5, about, blog, docs, pricing, because it's alphabetical. The computer needs it to stay in alphabetical order. To add our new page or any future new pages to the site, we need to go into this config folder down here. So if you open up config, you're gonna see two .ts files, two type stuff files, and we're gonna go to site.ts. And you'll notice there's a bucket called nav items on line number 7. This site.ts is one huge component with a lot of properties that the computer can call upon from different pages or from different spots. Kind of a more universal component instead of a specific component like the image was that we talked about earlier this week. What are you noticing as I scroll down, starting on line number 8 down to line number 28? What are you noticing might match up? It goes home, then it goes docs, then it goes pricing, then it goes blog. These are our nav items because they're in the nav items container, okay? And if you feel like I'm going too fast, I'm gonna help you individually. I wanna get all this out so that you can see why we're doing this. This is where inside of this nav items component, you add properties for your specific new pages. We made a folder called A5, so we need to make a bucket like you can see right here with label and href for that A5 to live in. So I'm clicking right here on line number 28, or you might have to click on line 27 and then hit enter so you have a blank line 28. We add braces because we're making a component, braces like so, and two specific properties. Those two specific properties are label and href. Label is for people, href is for computers, okay? So label, L-A-B-E-L, followed by colon, space, quotation marks, is going to be what your people see when they load your site. So if I type just assignment number 5, that's what's going to appear on my nav bar once I have all the properties. So once I save this, though, it breaks because we don't have all of the required properties. You can see it's got a big error code right here. It's got a couple errors. Let's look at error number 2. Failed prop type. The prop href expects a string because it's not defined. Let's define it. So if you go back into this container that we've just written here, we need a href so our computer knows what to look for. Okay? href, colon, quotes. And what do you notice about the hrefs that differs from the labels? What do they have that the labels don't? A slash, exactly right. So anytime you see a slash, you're telling your computer to look in a specific folder. What kind of specific folder name should we add to our nav items right here? Perhaps it's blue and getting clicked on. Yeah, exactly. So our href is slash the name of the folder the page lives in. In this case, it's just A5. My href is mad because I forgot to tell the computer to stop reading right here on line 29. You do that with a comma. And then you do that again on line number 30 with another comma. Okay? Now, when I control S and I refresh my page, you're going to see assignment number 5 pop up on the navigation bar. And when I click on it, it's got a title that says A5, Defend the Fictional Villain. And then inside of that paragraph element, it says placeholder text for the A5, Defend the Fictional Villain. Okay? I understand that that was a lot of steps and a lot of quick succession. Let's recap what we're doing and why we're doing it. We'll get to the PowerPoint here in just a second. Anytime you make a new page, you make a subfolder inside of the app drawer. If you add a new page.tsx, it'll think it's the home page and get confused. So we've added our folder, and inside of our folder, we add a page.tsx with a very basic export function. You can find a very basic export function by going to the About folder, and then that page.tsx, and copying and pasting, then adjusting as necessary, practicing that source code, okay? Once we've got all that, we have a page, but the page isn't accessible. So you've created a page, but your user can't find it. In order to get your user to find it, click on config, then site.ts, and you need to add inside of the nav items component the properties of label and href. Label are for people, so the text that you put right here, for example, if we change this to Blakeney's, oh, I started taking a screenshot, sorry. Wrong button. So if we change this to Blakeney's credit card number, so when my users go to my site, that will say Blakeney's credit card number. But when they click on it, it takes us to assignment 5 because that's where the href tells us to go. All right, so you want your labels to be accurate. We'll just call this A5, Control S, and we want them to match our subfolders, which is /A5. Make sure you have your commas after your labels and your hrefs. And if you wanted to add this to other nav menu items, like when your site shrinks, for example, if our site looks a little bit more like a phone, you can see that A5 doesn't appear in the menu here because we got to add it to the next comp below. Control C, we'll go here after About, and then we'll go Control V, Control S, and then A5 should appear in the nav menu right down there. And it'll take us to Defend the Fictional Villain. Okay, why am I showing you all this? Why am I going really fast? Let's go into your PowerPoint, and then Jake and I will help you get it correct. Okay? The reason that you make the pages in this specific fashion is so that your computer can understand the more advanced features that React is capable of by using the specific framework, right? Generally speaking, all of our buildings are built the same way on the planet because they have a framework that works, right? The scaffolding generally is the same, and they want to be strong to survive natural whatever. Same thing is true for web pages. You want them to be tough. You want them to be consistent, which is why we're doing it with this longer format, okay? Your job today is to try and add a new page to your site. We're not going to worry about Vercel deploy because we didn't have time in 4th period, and then any work on A5 we can also do on Monday, okay? Your outcomes, practicing making new pages. We're going to ignore the Vercel part. Your assignments is A5, and then we talked briefly about notebook checks. this is the important one, okay? You know you're getting it today because you can create that new subfolder, then the new page, then the export function, and your page loads and renders properly. We're going to ignore anything Vercel today because we don't have time. Okay. You can start applying what I'm teaching you this week with comps and props because you can see how they work together. You can see how components are buckets that contain properties. They have the required props in order to be working. You can also understand how the nav bar is an entirely separate component with its own properties. And you can start to see how these multiple functions and components will start to mix together. Why are we doing this? Because sometimes you just need to complete your assignment, okay? What I have to teach you does have broader implications, right? It doesn't necessarily all have to be web design skills. There's some life skills woven in here. There's some just general being creative skills woven in here. But for what I'm showing you today, this helps you complete the assignment and helps you complete future assignments, okay? So sometimes that's what you got to do in life is just get it done. All right, we'll worry about the exit task here in just a second. What Jake and I are going to do is go through or check your pages to make sure that you have created a new subfolder, created a new page.tsx, created a new export function by copying and pasting from about, and then linked it to the navbar in the config folder site.ts file. Okay? That's your goal today. And that's what Jake and I are going to help you do. So if you have no idea what I've said, if I've started speaking a different language up here that makes no sense, that's okay. We're going to help you get there. Okay? So that's our objective for today. When you want to close your server, you can hit Control-C. It's going to ask you terminate. We're going to go Y for termination. And then when I refresh, you're going to notice that our page no longer works. You don't have to do that, but that's when you're done. It's just good practice. Okay, so good luck. We'll be around in a sec. Don't panic. It's just code. It's just code.